I saw this story the other day, it went up on the 10th, about a horrific culturist, nationalist, I don't know what you'd call it, right? And what I mean by that is, like, I wouldn't necessarily call it racist. Maybe it is racist. Basically, a 92-year-old man was beaten with a brick and told to go back to your own country. And when I first saw the story, I was like, ooh, is this going to be a far-right attack on an immigrant? Someone yelling, go back to your country, because that's what it sounds like. Guess what? It's not. And, a lot of people were sharing it, trying to play that up until a photo emerged of the suspect. And can you guess why it's no longer racist? Yeah, well, let's read the story, but first I want to point out I do have merch available. And I'm saying this because when you buy these shirts, when you go to my store, it supports my work. This is my favorite shirt. This is the death of censorship, I call it. And it is the Illuminati pyramid knocked over with the motto for the U.S. Office of Censorship that reads, "Silence accelerates victory." You may have heard this a million times by now, but this is the most popular shirt I have. It's my favorite. I've got a bunch of other shirts in the description below. Check it out and, consider buying it if you want to support my work. It's greatly appreciated. So let's check this story out. A 92-year-old Rodolfo Rodriguez walks around his neighborhood every day, usually with his wife. But on the 4th of July, Rodriguez says a woman beat him with a brick after he bumped into her toddler on the sidewalk just a few feet from his home in Willowbrook. Once on the ground, a group of men started kicking him until a bystander saw what was happening and called 911. The female attacker told Rodriguez, a legal U.S. resident, to go back to his own country. Before I go on, I want to ask, is that racist? It doesn't sound like she was attacking him because he was Latino. But why would she say that to him? Because he was speaking Spanish or broken English, or she knew he was Latino? In which case, I think it is fair to say that what she was yelling was racist. I know that when you hear that, go back to your home country verbatim, it's not about race. But I think what influences someone to say that is racial, specifically. Because if you saw a white person who was from Ukraine and were beating them, most people probably wouldn't say go back to your own country unless they were yelling Ukrainian. So for the most part, it does seem to be about the fact that he is Latino. Whether you want to call it ethnicist or racist, whatever, I think it was to an extent not necessarily motivated by racism, but certainly she used it as a component. So let's see what we got here. "I see her hit him," said Mizbel Borjas, the woman who called police and recorded the video on a cell phone. Rodriguez was hospitalized with broken ribs and severe cuts to his face. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department had launched an investigation to find the attackers. "Who would do this to anybody?" said Rodriguez's grandson, Eric Mendoza. "A 92-year-old senior citizen, what can he do to anybody? There's no harm that he meant." Rodriguez wants his assailants to be punished and to pay his medical bills. "It was their fault they tossed me to the ground," he said. And then it goes on to say, anybody with information is encouraged to contact the Sheriff's Department. I'm going to say it right now. In my opinion, it was racist. It is a racist attack. I don't know how I feel for the most part about hate crime laws, because every crime for the most part is motivated by some kind of hate. Well, not every, but many crimes. If you're going to beat a person on the street, usually because you hate them. And adding, trying to criminalize intent or your thought process behind it, it gets murky. I'm not a big fan of that, but it is complicated, so I'll leave it at that. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. In my opinion, this is racist. Do you think it was racist? Well, I'll tell you what. According to the ideology of the far left, it is racist up until you realize just who committed the attack and spouted, "Go back to your country." I assure you, if it was a white person who beat this man and yelled, "Go back to your country," it would have been plastered everywhere and it would be called an example of Trump's America. But as it turns out, it was a black woman who beat this man with a brick, and thus, it seems like we're not really hearing too much about it. It could just be that, listen, attacks like this, they do happen. I don't want to paint a broad stroke here over everybody, but I do personally believe if the attackers were white, it would be used by the far left to no end. So here we have from ABC News, an updated version of the story. Actually, I should say this is not even really updated. This is from several days ago. This story that I cited in the beginning was updated yesterday. It was published yesterday, yet doesn't include an image of the suspect. Now we have this from ABC7 from the 7th, which does include an image of the suspect.
Coca-Cola bring you the hottest sale of summer.
Yeah, I don't care about the ad, but we're gonna have to endure as we wait through this. But I'm gonna try and skip ahead and just pull up the image of the suspect, and then we can talk about racism, I suppose.
Trump ramping up the pressure on U.S. allies at the NATO summit in Brussels.
This is the wrong story.
Blasting Germany, saying
I just wasted your time. Congratulations. It's going to make another ad play.
Graphic
Oh, okay,
video
here we go.
shows the 92-year-old man on the ground. He appears stunned, his face bloody. This is just seconds after the attack. Margie Morris lives just down the street and can't believe anyone would do this.
He's an older guy. Nobody should even harm him, because I wouldn't want to see nobody hurt my father, no mother. And I would hate to see somebody jump on an older guy like that.
The man had to be hospitalized. Sheriff's investigators say he was attacked by a woman and several men near the corner of 118th Street and Central Avenue. This woman who took the video doesn't want to be identified. She said the man was beaten with a piece of concrete.
Oh my God, it's too offensive.
According to the witness, the man was walking down the street and he passed the woman. And she says for some reason that upset the woman, and that's when everything started.
The woman pushed him and dropped and take the blood concrete and hit in his head many times. That's why it's very bad.
She was able to get this picture of the woman who was walking with a little girl. In that photo, she's seen holding a piece of concrete.
She see me in my car and watching to me, and she told me, "Oh, what are you doing? What are you saying? What are you taking my picture?" You know, she was mean and cruel. That's what I could say. She was evil. Cause who would hurt an old man like that? You know.
Detectives from the LA County Sheriff's Department interviewed the victim, and they're looking for more witnesses to come forward. In Willowbrook, I'm Carlos Granda, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
They never... Please don't play another video.
The graphic
They never mention the... They never say it was a black woman or anything like that. I feel like if it was a white person, they would say it was a suspected hate crime or something like that. So, I mean, look, you know, that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. There are probably a lot of stories we don't hear about. This one sort of just being shared around. So, there you go. What I find interesting is that NBC, which produced their story 3 days after this one, didn't include a photo of the suspect or even bring the suspect up. And the text of this story also doesn't bring up the race or the gender of the suspect. So among the far left, there is an idea that only white people can be racist. That's not true. Racism is defined as discrimination or prejudice based on race, particularly, or I should say, actually, you know what? Let's just pull up the actual definition. It is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior. The belief that all members of each race possess characteristics of abilities specific to that race, especially so as to distinguish it as inferior or superior to another race or races. So, based on that definition, this isn't arguably racist because we don't know if that woman thinks she's superior to this person. Though she did say go back to your home country, by all means you're allowed to suspect that it may have been motivated by race. But even with this definition, what the left says doesn't make sense. Because you'd have to, you know, when they say all white people are racist, you'd have to essentially argue that every white person does believe they are better than others, and that's just not true. It rather annoys me that there are some stories that just go viral, that there's this far left rhetoric that, you know, only white people can be racist, when clearly we can see there are incidents where, you know what, man, fuck that woman for, like, seriously, for beating this old man. Dude, when I first saw this story, I was sad and I was pissed off. There was I think they have an interview on NBC, and I want to show this guy because, dude,
to pay his medical bills.
Look at this guy. That is, I'm just gonna say it. That's fucking bullshit. Leave the fucking man alone.
Tonight, the sheriff's department is investigating. They don't have much information on the suspects other than the woman and the men.
Sad old man going for a walk. He says he accidentally bumped into the toddler, and so she beat him with a brick. Seriously. I don't know about you, but to me, I think there was some racial component to this. Why else would she yell, go back to your home country? Maybe she wasn't thinking. Maybe she was just trying to say something offensive. You know, some people just blurt things out. But I have to say then, if she's going to yell that out, there is something in the back of her mind where she's thinking negatively about this person and where he's from. And remove all of the politics. And let me just say in no uncertain terms, fuck her and fuck anybody that would beat an old man with a brick. Fuck anybody that would beat anybody for any reason. There's no reason to fight. Defend yourself by all means if something, you know, if someone aggresses against you. But this is an old man who bumbled around and bumped into your kid and is in no way deserving of this vicious attack against them. What bothers me is that I know the left isn't going to use this. They aren't going to talk about it. They're not going to say this was racist. They're not going to help. They're not going to spread this around. It's not going to go viral. You know, maybe it will. Like, I'm just my opinion. I could be wrong. I would love to see people make the story go viral and say, find this suspect for brutalizing this poor old man. Rant over. Thanks for hanging out. I've got an interview coming up tomorrow on my main channel, so thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you then.